let's just jump right in. Can your existing pool deck actually support a brand new screen enclosure? You know, it's the big question every single Florida homeowner has to ask before starting this kind of major upgrade. So, we're gonna break down exactly what you need to know to get that answer. I mean, look at this. This is the goal, right? It's the Florida dream. That perfect bug-free outdoor space where you can just relax and enjoy the lifestyle. It's so much more than a patio. It's really an extension of your home. But here's the thing. To make that dream a reality, we have to talk about what's going on underneath the surface. Because the safety, the durability, and hey, even the legality of your beautiful new enclosure, it all comes down to the foundation it's built on.
And that's because, you see, a screen enclosure isn't just some simple add-on. Nope. In the eyes of the Florida Building Code, it's a permanent, engineered structure, and it has to meet some really strict standards.
This slide really nails the difference between theory and reality. On the left, you've got the clean plans, the blueprints. But on the right, you see the real deal, a permanent structure that doesn't just have to follow Florida law. It has to stand up to Florida's wild weather.
So what do all these rules actually mean for you? Well, first, your enclosure is legally considered a permanent part of your house. Second, it has to be tough enough to handle hurricane-force winds, especially in those high-risk zones. But the most important thing to remember is this. All of that strength, all of that safety, it all starts from the ground up.
Okay, so where do you even begin? Well, before anyone even thinks about touching your deck or talking about a design, the very first, most critical step is to investigate the paper trail.
And this means doing a deep dive into the records at your local building department, checking the property appraiser's office. A good professional is looking for one simple but absolutely critical fact. Was your existing deck poured with a legal permit? And right here, this is the fork in the road. If a permit exists, fantastic. You're clear to move on to the physical inspection. But if there's no record, what they call an unknown history, the officials have to assume it was poured without a permit. And to them, that means it's non-compliant. And it doesn't matter how solid it looks. Honestly, building on an undocumented slab is a huge gamble. You risk failed inspections that can stop your project cold. Officials might send you on a wild goose chase for permits that just don't exist. And worst case scenario, you could be forced to tear things up and pour a brand new compliant footer just to move forward. It's a mess. Okay, so let's say the paperwork checks out. Great. Now we can move on to the physical foundation itself. And this is where we get into the nitty-gritty of concrete, pavers, and the super important footers.
And this is a question we hear all the time. I mean, your paver deck looks great, it feels totally solid when you walk on it. Surely that's strong enough to bolt a screen enclosure to, right?
Well, the answer is almost always a big no. And this slide shows you exactly why. If you look closer, what are those beautiful pavers really sitting on? A bed of sand. You just can't anchor a structure that's designed to fight a hurricane into loose sand. It's unsafe, it's unstable, and it is completely against code. So what's the right way to do it for a paver deck? It's this, a concrete footer. Just think of it like a solid, continuous beam of steel-reinforced concrete that runs under the pavers right where the enclosure will go. This is the solid structural base you need for those permanent anchors. And if that footer isn't already there under your pavers, well, this is what has to happen. A trench gets dug, rebar is laid down for strength, and a brand new footer is poured. This is absolutely non-negotiable for safety and, you guessed it, for passing inspection. Now, let's connect all this talk about foundations to the biggest reason these rules exist in the first place: surviving Florida's incredible winds. This diagram is so important. See, a hurricane doesn't just push a structure sideways. That's what we call the lateral load. It also creates this powerful lifting force, kind of like an airplane wing, trying to rip the whole thing right off the ground. That's uplift. Your foundation and your anchors have to fight both of those insane forces at the same time. So how do you fight back against those forces? With this stuff, hurricane-ready hardware. And these are not just any old bolts from the hardware store. They're heavy-duty anchors, and they have to be installed at very specific depths and spacings that an engineer spells out. Their one and only job is to lock that enclosure to the concrete footer and just refuse to let go, even when a hurricane is trying its best to tear it away. Whew, we have covered a lot of ground. So let's boil all of this really crucial information down into a simple checklist you can use before you even think about starting your project. All right, here it is, your 5-point green light guide. Number 1, is it permitted? You have to check those records. 2, is there a footer? You need that solid concrete base. 3, is the substructure solid? Remember, no anchoring into sand. 4, is it wind ready? That foundation has to be able to handle those heavy-duty uplift anchors. And finally, number 5, has it been professionally verified by a contractor?
Because that last point, that's absolutely key. A reliable contractor, a real pro, will do a full concrete investigation before they even start designing anything. They'll check for flatness, thickness, look for reinforcement, and even test the ground compaction. This is how you prevent those major, expensive surprises down the road.
And this is the exact mindset you should be looking for. We measure before we design to prevent surprises. I mean, that simple quote, it says it all. Proper investigation and planning is absolutely everything.
And at the end of the day, building with confidence really just means finding a pro who lives and breathes all these details. Someone who's going to protect your home by getting that foundation right from the very beginning. And that kind of confidence, well, it really comes from experience. With over 15 years in the business, Screen Factory Florida helps homeowners all across the state build safe, beautiful, and fully code-compliant screen enclosures. So to get started on the right foot, contact them to schedule your free estimate and evaluation. You'll find all the details right below.